Okay, so this is the third part of a three-part series based on two horses we used to have that were getting out of their stalls, despite the latches being hard to open. Here's how we fixed the problem. Pretty simple. I compared the case that we had for those two horses, evidence, witnesses, and them being called, and how these same three issues play a part in the case for Jesus. So in part one of this series, we looked at the evidence. In part two, we looked at the witnesses. So now in part three, we're going to check out who's been subpoenaed, who has been called. In a way, I subpoena our horses every day. Every day I call them up to be fed, sometimes to ride. Most of the time, our horses are pretty good about coming up when called. They don't always get in a hurry, usually start out slow, and maybe even stop a couple of times. This is JR's horse Pete. He's headed in. Oops, I need to stop and scratch a while. Okay, that's done. Now on to the barn and get some feed. Nope, one more stop. Why don't you just bring the feed out here?
Come on.
Well, I made it in. Where's the feed? What's the holdup? This is my horse Pistol. It always makes me smile when they break into a trot or lope when I call them. Just a pretty sight to see them a little eager. As believers, we have been called, but are we eager? Are we slow to respond? Do we drag our feet? Do we stop along the way? Do we want Jesus to meet us on our terms? I like to think it brings a smile to Jesus' face when we trot, lope, or better yet, run when he calls. John 3:16, For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Is your antenna tuned to Jesus? And are you fully charged? Are you putting off what Jesus wants done? Would you rather he just remind you later? Would you prefer to leave a message and get back to Jesus when it's more convenient for you? Will you decline his call altogether? We have all been called. 1 Peter 2:9. But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. Jesus is calling. Will you answer the call? Will you be an eyewitness for Jesus?